and welcome back to Bedtime Stories ASMR. I know I say this every video, but today we truly have a very, very special book to look through today. And that is the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual, an illustrated compendium of monsters from aerial servant to zombie by Gary Gygax. So, I have been a Dungeons and Dragons fan since I was a little kid, and that started with my dad. He played Dungeons and Dragons growing up too. So the very first edition that he had me and my siblings play when we were kids is the first edition. This monster manual is only the third edition of the monster manual ever published in December of 1978, so it is a very old vintage book. You can see the edges of the pages yellowing, and this is the very first monster manual that me and my siblings used, because when my dad wanted to introduce us to the game, this is the book that he had. You have to think 5th edition was very new at the time, and he had started playing in the 70s with 1st edition Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't know D&D, it is a tabletop role-playing game, and some of this might go over your head a little bit. But if you are familiar with D&D today, you probably play 5th edition D&D, or the new 24, what have you, that they just came out with. But back in the day, Dungeons and Dragons was the original tabletop role-playing game, and it was very different than it is played now. It was more about dungeon crawling, crunching numbers, less about the roleplay aspect, and more just a bunch of guys sitting around a table doing math. There was a lot more math involved back then. I would love to read you this foreword because it's really just a time capsule of this game. So we'll read this. If you're not interested, you could look at the timestamp and skip through till when we flip through and talk about the monsters. But if you are interested, stick around and let's hear the foreword. If you like this video so far, please leave a like and comment. It helps a small channel like this one so much. Thank you. If you hear my cat snoring, that's Shadow. Forward. It is with a certain measure of pride that we at DSR bring you the second part of the new Dungeons and Dragons releases, the long-awaited monster manual for advanced D&D. We are doubly proud of the format of this book, i.e. its special hardcover, a first in the gaming world and another step in our continuing quest for top-quality products. As time goes on, the D&D phenomenon shows no sign of subsiding. Indeed, the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons continues to grow and grow. This trend is very gratifying to us at DSR and encourages us to devote even more time and attention to D&D and related materials. With the outstanding growth of Dungeons and Dragons has come the growth of DSR hobbies, since it is no secret that the fantastic response to D&D has allowed DSR to expand and explore many new directions in the gaming hobby. Therefore, we owe our thanks to you, the many devoted gamers who have supported it depends on your continued support, and we intend to keep earning it by continuing to bring you innovative products in the future. The success of Dungeons & Dragons has spawned a considerable number of imitations and spin-off products, perhaps inevitably. Some of these have merit, many however do not, and although we may concede their right to exist, however dependent they may be on D&D's audience, we would caution the prospective buyer to consider their true value and not to be confused with those items which bear the Dungeons & Dragons or Advanced Dungeons & Dragons name and constitute the official D&D family of products. As for value, let the others be measured against the standard of quality we have striven for, a hardbound encyclopedia of monsters, for instance, as opposed to a low-quality collection which is poorly assembled and bound. This present work, as will be apparent from its sheer bulk alone, is the result of a considerable amount of work and preparation by many persons. All this has been undertaken with an eye toward providing a final result, which can be regarded as the definitive collection for monsters and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, an encyclopedic collection of information, certain to be of invaluable use to players and dungeon masters alike, complete with game specifications, background details, and in many cases, with an illustration edition. Of course, no work can be truly definitive, for as long as players possess an active imagination, many new and fascinating monsters will continue to arise. And this is only as it should be. One final note. As valuable as this volume is with its wealth of information, some DMs may wisely wish to forbid their players from referring to the manual in the midst of an encounter, since it will be considerably more challenging to confront a monster without an instant rundown of its strengths and weaknesses. And besides, a D&D player's true mettle and knowledge will be put to the test. And as even the most casual D&D player knows, that's what this fascinating game is all about. Read on and enjoy. Mike Carr, 27th September, 1977. An alphabetical table of contents here. I looked through this book a lot as a kid, especially when I was making my very first Dungeons and Dragons games for my siblings. So it's very nostalgic to me to look through it again. There are many types of monsters in here, but the ones I always found funniest as a kid were the mundane ones. For example, there are stats for a giant ant, an ape, and additionally, a carnivorous ape. You could really have any kind of ape you wanted. For example, there are 6 classes of giant beetles, and stats for bears, black, brown, and cave, a giant beaver, and a barracuda, just a normal fish. You can fight a normal badger or a baboon if you want, in addition to wonderfully magical creatures like basilisks, of course. But this picture, when I was a kid, really captured my imagination. It's just a giant beetle on a farm with a normal little chicken. There is something really fun about this combination of the absurd with the mundane that I think spoke to me and still speaks to me. My dad's D&D campaigns were very, very high magic, high fantasy, but my campaigns turned out continuing stories that you come back to session after session. And one-shots are what they call a D&D session that is its own story and you don't come back to it. There is one term for something in the middle which I think is very fun, and that's called a revolver campaign. And it's called a revolver campaign because it's a one-shot that became a continued campaign. Just like a revolver is a gun that has multiple shots in it. So I think that one is very fun. While we're on this page, why don't we read the description for this basilisk? I won't bore you with all these statistics here, except that it is uncommon in frequency, and its special attacks is gaze turns to stone. The basilisk is a reptilian monster, although it has 8 legs. Its slow metabolic process allows it only slow movement. While it has strong, toothy jaws, the basilisk's major weapon is its gaze, by means of which it is able to turn stone any fleshly creature which meets its gaze. However, if its gaze is reflected so that the basilisk sees its own eyes, it will itself be petrified. But this requires light at least equal to bright torchlight and a good smooth reflector. Basilisks are usually dull brown with yellowish underbellies. Their eyes are glowing pale green. The basilisk is able to see in both the astral and ethereal planes. In the former plane, its gaze kills, while in the latter, it turns victims to ethereal stone, which can only be seen by those who are in that plane or can see ethereal objects. So that is a basilisk. Oh, I'm remembering all of these pages of creatures as I look. The blink dog was one of my favorite creatures when I was a kid. And this one, the beholder, is a classic D&D villain. Very, very classic. The blink dog. Its frequency is rare, and its special defenses is to teleport. These brown and yellowish creatures are as intelligent as normal humans and have a fairly complex language consisting of barks, yaps, whines, and growls. They are also able to use a limited form of teleportation, the blink. In attack, pack members will blink in and out in a random fashion at random intervals. Teleporting individuals have a 75% chance of appearing behind the opponent. An individual will teleport on a score of 7 or better on a 12-sided die. Roll again to determine where the blink dog teleporting reappears. 1 is in front of the opponent, 2 is shielded or left front flank, 3 is the unshielded or right front flank, 4 through 12 is behind. When blinking in, the creature will be from 1 to 3 feet from the opponent and immediately able to attack. Blinking is an inborn instinct, and it never allows the animal to reappear in a space already occupied by a solid object. If seriously threatened, or if 25% or greater loss has been sustained, the entire pack will blink out and not return. There is a great enmity between blink dogs and displacer beasts, and the two creatures will always attack each other. If encountered in their lair, there is a 50% chance that there will be from 3 to 12 pups. These young are worth 1,000 to 2,000 gold pieces on the market, as they can be tamed and trained. remember loving to listen to my dad's stories of his D&D campaign. The noticeable memories that I have of his stories were one very clever instance where they were trying to, of course, as you do in Dungeons and Dragons, slay a dragon. And it is very, very difficult to do so. It's usually one of the last things you'll do once you've leveled up all the way, if you can manage to survive all the way to level 20. Because back in the day, it was much harder to survive D&D campaigns. Characters would be killed all the time. But my dad always played a sorcerer or a wizard. And it was kind of an investment for his adventuring party because at low levels they are very squishy and easy to kill, but they scale very well, and at higher levels they are, well, you simply need one to fight the more dangerous and magical monsters like vampires and evil sorcerers and such. But I remember like it is something I watched on TV, this story he told us of an evil enemy that was going to converge onto them at this location. And he set a clever trap for them instead of fighting them head on. The background knowledge you need to know to understand this trap is that there is an iconic, well-known, very useful magical item in D&D, and it is called the Bag of Holding. And as you might expect from the name, the Bag of Holding, it is a normal looking sack. But when you open it up, it has infinite space inside. Extremely valuable because, of course, as an adventurer, you want to be able to carry out all of the treasure that you can. Plus, back in 1st edition D&D, there were rules about being over-encumbered, which means if you had too much armor on, or if you were carrying too much gear, you would start to move slower. So, this Bag of Holding was a very powerful and coveted artifact. And it worked. The way that it worked was, inside the Bag of Holding was a small plane of existence. That's how it was endless. And it was a very nice artifact everyone wanted, but it had one little rule that you could never break, and that was that you could put anything you wanted inside of the Bag of Holding, except for another Bag of Holding. For if the two infinite spaces were to be placed inside of each other, it would cause a magical, rift-tearing explosion that would destroy everything in its radius and might even cause a tear in dimensions. Very, very dangerous. But my dad's party was trying to fight a very, very dangerous foe, and they didn't want to die, so they decided to take a roundabout way. They set a trap in this foe's lair, they knew when the foe would return. So they reanimated a skeleton servant. The trouble with skeletons and servants that wizards can summon is that they only take very simple instruction. So they kept it simple. They ordered the skeleton to place each pebble from a pile of pebbles they left into the bag of holding. And when the skeleton had placed every pebble from the pile in the bag of holding, they ordered it to place the bag of holding into the bag of holding, creating that huge explosion. And that was how they timed it. So, as you can imagine, clever players can get away with quite a lot in this game. The other thing I remember is that eventually they all got to level 20 and got bored of the game. This was after 2 years of playing. They wanted to try something new. So, their dungeon master, their DM, created an evil lich that could not be killed. A lich is a sorcerer, kind of like Voldemort, who has its soul apart from its body so it can keep on coming back. And so they ended that campaign by teleporting their most fearsome fighter into the center of a deep, deep mountain and casting a time stop spell on the fighter while he was clutching in his hand this gem that held the lich's soul. Because it was the only way to ensure that the great evil never came back. It gave the fighter quite a heroic ending as well, forever guarding the realm from this great evil that would burst out to destroy everything again, were it ever to be disturbed deep within the mountain. I always like to say that D&D is a game of pretend with more rules. Let's read the Chimera entry. The Chimera combines features of 3 creatures in a monstrous manner. The hind quarters are those of a huge goat. Its foreparts are those of a lion. Its body sports dragon wings, and it has 3 large heads. It can claw with its 4 legs. Its goat head is armed with 2 long horns. Its lion head has powerful jaws and sharp teeth, and its dragon head is likewise equipped. If a chimera desires 50% chance, its dragon head can breathe fire with a range of 5 inches, and causing 3 to 24 points damage, saving throw applicable. Chimerae speak a very limited form of red dragon language. Description: the goatish body parts are black with amber eyes and yellowish horns. The lion-like parts are tawny yellow and dark brown, green eyes and red maw. The dragon wings are brownish black, the dragon head orange, and the eyes and mouth black. And that's because if you had an unimaginative dungeon master, or if you just wanted to go on an epic adventure, the creators of D&D also created certain campaigns, pre-written campaigns, that your dungeon master could follow along with. It contained lore like which archdevils hate each other, how the world was created, the 2 dragon deities that everyone in the world worshipped, things like that. I believe I did fight a pit fiend once, a greater devil. The lowest plane of hell is the home of the dreaded pit fiend, a devil of great power. They possess a terrible strength and the most evil nature. All pit fiends have personal names. They are the personal servants of Asmodeus. Each typically carries an August-like weapon and a jagged-toothed club, and all can strike with both in a melee round. Pit fiends are able to perform any of the following at will, once per turn or melee round as applicable. Pyrotechnics, produce flame, wall of fire, detect magic, detect invisible, polymorph self, hold person, or gate in 1 out of 3 barbed devils or another pit fiend. 70% chance of success. Once per day, a pit fiend can use a symbol of pain. Save versus magic or suffer -4 on attack dice rolls to hit and a -2 on dexterity for 2 to 20 melee rounds. They shed fear in a 20-foot radius. Save versus magic is applicable. All pit fiends have a strength of 18. They regenerate at 2 hit points per melee round. If they strike with their tail and score a hit, the opponent is held with 2 to 8 hit points of constricted damage per turn. Oh, the dinosaur section. As you can see, you were able to fight many dinosaurs in 1st edition. I have never seen so many dinosaurs in any monster manual since. We have the Allosaurus, the Brontosaurus, the Brachiosaurus, the Camarasaurus, the Ceratosaurus, Cetiosaurus, Dinictus, Diplodocus, Elasmosaurus, the Gorgosaurus, the Iguanodon, the Lambeosaurus, the Megalosaurus, the Monoclonius, the Mosasaurus, the Paleosynctus, the Penteratops, the Plateosaurus, Plesiosaurus, Pterodon, Stegosaurus, Styracosaurus, Pterodosaurus. I mean, what do you expect when you have a game made by nerds that they won't include every dinosaur? The Triceratops, and finally, my favorite, and one that my older sibling put in a campaign for us to fight, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. There can be no question that this reptile is the most fearsome and terrible of all carnivorous dinosaurs. Despite its huge size, the monster is swift of foot. Its huge head is nearly 6 feet long, and its teeth are from 3 to 6 inches length. It is a plains dweller, so stupidly fierce that it will attack a small triceratops, kill it, and swallow its head in one gulp, thus killing itself in a matter of hours as the horns of the victim pierce the stomach of the victor. Of course, this monster will pursue and eat nearly anything, engulfing man-sized creatures whole on a roll of 18 or better. Then we have the blink dog's enemy displacer beast. A pack of these monsters always contains only fully grown beasts. The molecular vibrations of the displacer beasts are such that it always appears to be 3 feet, left, right, ahead, or behind its actual position. Thus, these monsters always cause opponents to subtract 2 from attack dice rolls and add 2 to their dice rolls or saving throws. These fierce creatures hate all life, but they particularly hate blink dogs. In combat, the displacer beast lashes out with its 2 tentacles, inflicting horrible wounds with the rough, horny edges of these appendages. Description: this vaguely puma-like creature is bluish-black, its tentacles are dead black, and the horny edges of the tentacles are brownish-yellow. Its eyes glow a hellish green. Moving right along to the dragon section. As you can imagine, there is a lot to speak about in the dragon section. In D&D, the dragons are split into categories by their color. Some are good and some are evil, depending on their color. Typically, metallic dragons are good. Colored dragons, typically evil. We have the black dragon, evil. The blue dragon, evil. The brass dragon, good. The bronze dragon, good. There is only one chromatic dragon, and her name is Tiamat. And she is the evil dragon deity. Pretty much the most fearsome enemy in the entirety of D&D. And there is an entire campaign that is all about slaying her. She is called the Chromatic Dragon because she has 5 heads, and each is a different dragon color. The Copper Dragon, as you can imagine, is good. The Gold Dragon is good. The Green Dragon is evil. The Platinum Dragon's name is Bahamut, and he is the ultimate good dragon. He is the good dragon deity. Many good players will use him as their symbol, and he is the king of dragons as well. There is the red dragon, which is evil, of course. And the silver dragon, which is good. The white dragon, which is evil. And finally, the dragon turtle, which looks so derpy in this picture. And its alignment is neutral. Then we also have this random creature called the Dragon, which is a lion head and dragon body. Not sure where that one came from. There are dwarves, which you could play as a dwarf. So there is lots and lots of information about them. Moving on to E, we have eagles, eels, electric giant, and weed. There are the nightmare fuel that are ear seekers, little insects that burrow into your brain and kill you. Efreeti, a type of demon, I believe. Air elementals, things that wizards can summon. Let's find another one to read. Let's see. Water elemental. Water elementals are, for all practical purposes, limited to water operations, for they can stray only 6 inches from their element. It normally requires a considerable volume of water or watery liquid to create a water elemental. A pool of water at least 1,000 cubic feet in volume, but several large barrels of ale or wine could suffice. Imagine a wine elemental. Outside their element, water elementals are less effective, and they lose 1 point from each die of damage they inflict. In a body of water, they attack at full effect, move more swiftly, and can upset a small craft, or slow or stop a craft. If greater tonnage, simply ratio the tons of hit points to find the rate the vessel is slowed. There are many other elemental forms on the plane of water. Free-willed, intelligent beings are common, as well as much more powerful elementals of the sort dealt with here. It is possible that they are ruled by a godlike king. For myself, in my latest D&D game, I played a half-demon race. The races are just, if you'd like to be a human, an elf, a dwarf, etc. I do play 5th edition with my friends. Wow, a gargoyle. So there are more races than there used to be. I picked a race called a tiefling. Pausing here because I want to read the ghost entry. I have definitely created ghostly encounters. They have a very cool power. Anyway, I played a tiefling, which is a half-demon race, and my character's whole arc was that she was evil. This was a vampire campaign. It was very centering on subterfuge in high society, so I played a bard. Bards are very charismatic and very good at talking to people, lying, sneaking around, that sort of thing. So she was a noble woman, and I was very tricksy. In that campaign, my friends at the table obviously knew that my character was lying to their characters, but I actually hid the fact that I was a tiefling the entire campaign, and went through my entire character arc, and eventually, through my conniving ways, managed to obtain what I was seeking, fake my death, and escape to a different plane of existence, all while none of the other players knew I was part demon at all. I think one of them found out, but at that point I had him so far under my thumb that he didn't dare tell anyone else. That was a fun campaign. I had never played an evil character before. Some of my friends were quite annoyed at my conniving ways, but I had so much fun. Ghosts are the spirits of evil humans who are so awful in their badness that they have been rewarded, or perhaps cursed, by being given undead status. Thus, they roam about at night or in places of darkness. These spirits hate goodness and life, hungering to draw the living essences from humans. As ghosts are non-corporeal, ethereal, they are usually encountered by creatures in a like state, although they can be seen by non-ethereal creatures. The supernatural power of a ghost is such, however, that the mere sight of one causes any humanoid being to age 10 years and flee in panic for 2 to 12 turns unless a saving throw versus magic is made. Clerics above the 6th level are immune to this is subject to attack by magic jar spell from the ghost. Unless the ghost becomes semi-material to attack by other means, it can otherwise only be combated by another in the ethereal plane, in which case the ghost has an armor class of 8, or by a telepathic means. If the ghost fails to magic jar its chosen victim, it will then semi-materialize in order to attack by touch, in which case the ghost is armor class 0. Semi-materialized ghosts can only be struck by silver or magic weapons. If they strike an opponent, it ages him 10 to 40 years. Note that ghosts can be attacked with spells only from creatures who are in an ethereal state. Any human, including dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings, killed by a ghost is forever dead. Yes, back then and still now, in some D&D campaigns, it was very important to have a silver or magical weapon. Besides, what if you came upon a werewolf or a ghost? How would you harm them if you didn't have some silver on you? It was a conundrum you had to solve right away. Oh gosh. I remember fighting the giants. They are terrible, terrible foes. We fought a storm giant. So annoying to fight. They're just so powerful. Well, I don't want to get too much into it, but let's read the classic goblin entry. Goblins have a tribal society, the strongest ruling the rest, allowing fealty to the Goblin King. Anyone see Labyrinth with David Bowie? Just me? Okay. It is possible that goblins are distantly related to kobolds. Like the latter, goblins enjoy dwelling in dismal surroundings, although they tend to inhabit caves and similar underground places in preference to any habitation above ground. They do hate full daylight and attack at a -1 when in sunlight. Goblins have normal infravision, 60-foot range. For those of you not familiar, infravision is the same as dark vision. That's the updated term for it. For every 40 goblins encountered, there will be a leader and 4 assistants who are equal to orcs, each having 7 hit points and attacking as monsters with a full hit die. This is the rules of when and how goblins will be encountered, how many, that kind of thing. Oh wow. A goblin lair will be protected by 5 to 30 huge wolves, not less than 60% of the time. You see how much math is in this, right? Goblins are fair miners, and they are able to note new or unusual construction 25% of the time. Why is that important? They hate gnomes and dwarves, and will attack them in preference to any other creature. All goblins are slave takers and fond of torture. The languages spoken by goblins are their own, lawful evil, kobold, orcish, and hobgoblin. Description: goblins range from yellow through dull orange to brick red in skin color. Their eyes are reddish to lemon yellow. They dress in dark leather gear, and their garments tend toward dull, soiled-looking colors. Brown, drab, dirty gray, stained maroon. Goblins reach the age of 50 years or so. A goblin is a very classic foe. Now we have golems, which are creatures that can be constructed by wizards. The oozes and slimes were always found in dungeons. nodule, the hippocampus, the hippogriff, the hippopotamus, the hobgoblin, the homunculus, the horse. Very important to know your horse's stats if you are to ride one into battle. The hydra, also from Greek mythology, so is the hippogriff. There's just a lot. Let's read the invisible stalker. Very rare. The Irish deer, what? Oh, that's just a normal animal. The invisible stalker is a creature from the elemental plane of air, normally encountered on the material plane only due to the conjuration of some magic user. This conjuration causes the creature to serve for a period on this plane. Invisible stalkers roam the astral and ethereal planes, and if they are encountered there on the elemental planes, they can be dimly seen. Otherwise, or unless their opponents are able to detect/see invisible objects. Their invisibility causes opponents to subtract 2 from 2-hit dice rolls. Unless slain on their own plane, invisible stalkers are simply sent back to the elemental plane when damage accrued exceeds their total hit points. The conjuring party retains full command of the invisible stalker summoned until it fulfills its duties or is killed. Once set upon a mission, an invisible stalker will follow through unceasingly until it is accomplished. They are faultless trackers within 1 day of a quarry's passing. They must be destroyed to make them cease in order to attack. Once a mission is finished, the creature is free to return to its own plane. The invisible stalker is at best an unwilling servant, but will not resent a brief, uncomplicated task. Service involving a period of a week tries the creature severely, and anything longer is certain to make it attempt to fulfill the letter of command by perverting the spirit of it. This is not to say that impelling the invisible stalker to serve for extended periods is impossible, but the compulsion to cause it to do so sharp talons and teeth which inflict terrible wounds. Is this a real creature, or is this a magical creature? It's funny that I can't tell. We have, under lycanthropes, a werebear, a wereboar, a were-rat, which is a very good low-level party combat creature. I have fought many a were-rat in my time. There are were-tigers, werewolves, of course, and that's that. This is a little comic down here. It's saying, "What do you mean we gotta talk to the lynx? The last monster we talked to ate half the party." Very, very nice. We have mammoths, manticores, mashers. Oh, they're fish. They might be a real fish, I don't know. There's a mastodon, which is apparently not extinct. Oh, Medusa. You could fight Medusa in 1st edition D&D. Oh, apparently it's a whole race of creatures, Medusae. It just takes Greek mythology and perverts it. Men. Just normal men. You could fight bandits and brigands. Seems like there's a lot of different kinds of men. Merchants. Pilgrims. With all the statistics of when, how, and where. Oh, mermen. Mermen are found in the seas and oceans in the warm, temperate, and tropical areas. They range over areas harvesting the vegetation and hunting the fish the seas provide. Additionally, mermen actually herd certain fishes. They venture out of water only to sun themselves or to visit some coastal spot. Mermen have regular undersea communities, generally a reef or cliff honeycombed with passages and rooms. Only 10% of the time will they have constructed a village of shells, rocks, and coral. This community will have areas where the merwomen and their young live, netted bands when food fishes are kept, workshops, and so on. These communities will be guarded by from 3 to 18 of the larger-sized barracuda, for mermen have learned to tame and use these fish. The arms used by mermen are trident, crossbows, daggers, nets, and javelins. On occasion, mermen will attack surface vessels. To do so, they must surface and grapple it. They are very accurate with hooks, and are 90% likely to hit. 10 mermen will then hold the line, and the ship will be slowed 1 inch for every such grappling. Meanwhile, the other mermen will fire their crossbows and darts at exposed crewmen. Grappling hooks can be thrown up to 3 inches. Am I reading that correctly? I don't know. Definitely, it should be 3. Oh gosh, can I read that? The 2 lines, it's not foot. It's not feet. But why would it be inches? If grappling hooks are loosened or cut, the mermen pulling on the line are not able to attack during the next melee round. A motionless ship will be held by the mermen in 4 to 16 melee rounds. The ship will then slowly sink and eventually be looted by the victors. During such an attempt, by attacking, the mermen are exposed to missile fire from the vessel, and if flame is used against them, the mermen take double damage. This next creature, the mimic, is one of the most classic D&D monsters. Mimics are subterranean creatures which cannot stand the light of the sun. They are able to perfectly mimic stone or wood, often taking the appearance of a treasure chest to lure looters into opening them. There are 2 varieties of this creature: the large, semi-intelligent, carnivorous killer mimic, and the slightly smaller, intelligent sort. While the former will attack anything which is nearby, the latter are generally friendly if offered food. All mimics move about constantly in their search of prey. Mimics pose as stonework, door, chests, or any other substance or item they can imitate. When a creature touches the mimic, the latter lashes out with a pseudopod, delivering 3 to 12 points of damage per hit. Meanwhile, the mimic excretes a glue which holds fast whatever member the creature touched the mimic with. The killer mimics do not speak, but the other breeds have their own language and can usually speak universal tongues such as Common, Orcish, etc. For consideration, they will usually tell a party about what they have seen nearby. Mind flayers are also classic D&D monsters. Minotaur, another one from Greek mythology. Mold, I guess you can fight mold. Although why you would want to, I'm not sure. There's a mummy, a naga, which there are 3 types of naga, apparently. A strange, very, very strange creature fighting 2 guys. The night hag. A nightmare. I loved these as a kid too. Nightmare, also known as demon horses and hell horses. Nightmares are creatures from the lower planes. They are ridden primarily by the more powerful demons and devils, as well as by night hags. On occasion, they serve as steeds for undead, such as specters, vampires, and liches. The nightmare attacks with its great fangs, as well as its burning hooves. These creatures breathe out a smoking, hot cloud during combat, and it obscures vision by blinding the eyes and choking its opponent. Unless a saving throw is made, the opponent attacks at -2 to hit and damage dice. Nightmares can fly, become ethereal, and roam the astral plane. They hate material life and attack viciously, even without a rider to command them. Description: the hell horse is gaunt and skeletal with a huge head, glowing red eyes, flaming orange nostrils, and hooves which burn like embers. The coat is dead black, and the creature's mane and tail are wild and rugged. Obviously, I wanted to ride one so badly. There is a giant octopus, an ogre mage, an orc. Orcs are classic D&D creatures as well. The owlbear, another classic D&D creature. Their appearance has changed a lot. The horrible owlbear is probably the result of genetic experimentation by some insane wizard. These creatures inhabit the tangled forest regions of every temperate clime, as well as subterranean labyrinths. They are ravenous eaters, aggressive hunters, and evil-tempered at all times. They attack prey on sight and will fight to the death. This one looks crazy. specters, sphinxes, giant snakes. Here is a giant spider descending on a party. Very creepy and crawly. Sprite, squid, stag, sturge, strangleweed. Sylphs, beautiful fairy creatures. I loved this picture as a kid, the Thought Eater. It's like a little skeletal platypus that swims around the ethereal plane. This giant toad swallowing a manhole. Treants, classic. If you know Tolkien, you'll know a treant. There's tridents. Troglodytes, trolls, turtle. You could fight a turtle. Unicorns, classic. I'm sure you could probably guess that I also wanted to ride and tame a unicorn. Vampires are a classic, very, very fearsome opponent. Giant wasps. Weasels, whales, whites, will-o'-the-wisps, wolves. Wolverines, wraiths, wyverns. Yeti, and finally, zombie. Magically animated corpses, undead creatures under the command of evil magic users who animated them. This illustration of a party gaining some treasure, and of course, more math about how much loot you get per treasure type. And finally, an index in the back. From A to Z. Well, thank you very, very much